Interfaces. What is an interface? An interface is something like a class, but the methods defined in the interface are by default public and abstract. Also, variables defined in the interface are by default public, static, and final. What does this mean? Syntax for defining an interface is interface keyword followed with an interface name, and inside the braces you write the code for the interface. Just like we write class keyword followed with class name, in the same manner interface keyword followed with interface name. The methods in the interface are public and abstract. For example, this is my interface and I have declared a method named demo. Return type is void. Here I haven't explicitly mentioned public abstract keyword. But internally, when you will compile your file, compiler includes public abstract modifier in the method declaration. So even though you did not mention the keywords, compiler converts it into public and abstract. Hence, the methods defined in the interface are by default public and abstract. Also, variables defined in the interface are by default public, static, final. Means that here we have a variable defined double pi equal to 3.14. So over here, in the variable definition, compiler will precede this statement with modifiers public, static, final. So variables defined inside the interface are always public. They can be accessed anywhere. Static, you don't have to create object to access interface variables. And final, these are constants. You cannot reassign the value for interface variables. So these are the basic things you need to remember. The methods are public and abstract, and the interface variables are public, static, and final. Now the points to remember: you need to use interface keyword to define an interface. You cannot create object of an interface because it has abstract methods. So we have learned in abstract class, you cannot create object of abstract class. Why? Because abstract class may have abstract method and we cannot call abstract method. Abstract method doesn't have code to be executed. Same rule goes for interfaces. You cannot create object of interface because it has abstract methods. If you want to create object of interface, you need to create a class that will implement the interface, and you need to write implementation for all the abstract methods defined inside the interface. So the syntax to create a subclass is here: class keyword, name of the subclass, implements keyword, name of the interface. When you inherit a class, you have to use extends keyword and class name. When you inherit an interface, you have to use implements keyword followed with a interface name. Here you can implement multiple interfaces separating by commas. So this is the subclass. But to invoke the variable from the interface, you don't need to create an object. Why? Because variables in interface are static, and static variables in methods can be invoked on the class or interface name directly. You don't need object for that. Next is, a class needs to inherit an interface and give implementation of all abstract methods. So if you are not writing code for all the abstract methods belonging to the interface, you will have to declare the class as abstract class. You need to declare the class as abstract if you are not implementing all the abstract methods of an interface inherited. You can achieve multiple inheritance by using interface. How? Java has given this feature. You can define a subclass, for example class keyword, name of the subclass, extends some other class, implements multiple interfaces separating by commas. So Java doesn't allow multiple inheritance. You cannot extend more than one class at a time. But you can extend a class and implement multiple interfaces at the same time. This is allowed. So by doing this, you can achieve multiple inheritance to some extent. Class uses implements keyword to inherit from interface. Class can implement multiple interfaces at a time, also extend another class at the same time. New features added in interface from JDK 8 onwards. So prior to JDK 8, interface used to have only abstract methods. Methods with implementation were not allowed. You were only allowed to write abstract methods ending with semicolon. You were not allowed to write code for the method. But from JDK 8 onwards, methods with implementation were allowed using default keyword. Also, static methods were allowed. And new features added in interface from JDK 9 onwards. Private methods are allowed and private static methods are allowed. Why these features were allowed and how do we implement it We will learn all this with the help of a program. But before this, let us write a program to learn the basic features of interface. Okay, try to understand why do you need an interface? What is an interface? It is a collection of abstract methods and final variables. You can think of an interface as a contract that a class must implement. Any class that implements the interface must write the code for abstract methods. So when the class implements the interface, it makes a contract with the interface that it will implement all the abstract methods declared by the interface. And if the class doesn't implement all the abstract methods declared by the interface, the class has to be declared as abstract class. So in what scenario do you need an interface? You need an interface in a scenario where you want to make a class mandatory to implement a given set of methods, or interface achieves multiple inheritance. You can implement more than one interface and also extend a class at the same time. So whenever you want to achieve multiple inheritance, in that scenario, you can use an interface. You need interface when you want to inherit a class as well as abstract class at the same time. So there are some cases where you want to inherit a class and you also want to inherit some abstract class. But you cannot inherit two classes at the same time. In Java, multiple inheritance is not allowed. You need interface when you want to inherit a class as well as abstract class at the same time, but multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java. Hence, instead of writing an abstract class, you can write an interface so that along with some other class, you can inherit interface. For example, class cat. Cat needs all the features of domestic animal, animal and mammal. Cat is inheriting features from 3 different classes. But as multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java, you cannot write class for all these things. You can write interfaces and then inherit. One more example, shape. All shapes has some area, but the formula is different for each. So you can declare area method as abstract in the shape interface, and then the shapes like rectangle, circle can inherit it. Let us implement real-life example in our program for better understanding of the concept. Write a Java program that demonstrates an interface. So we have defined an interface. Syntax for defining an interface is interface keyword followed with name of the interface. Name of the interface is animal. And we have declared 2 abstract methods, void sound, void walk. So by default, methods inside interface are public and abstract. Then we have a subclass cat, implements animal. Subclass cat is inheriting interface animal and it will inherit all the abstract methods belonging to interface animal. So these methods sound and walk are inherited inside class cat. We need to provide implementation for the abstract methods. There is a default constructor. This is the overridden method sound from interface animal. When you provide implementation for abstract method, you should not write abstract keyword. The access modifier is public because interface methods are public. Return type is void and name is sound, and just inside the braces write the code. Then we have also provided implementation for walk method. If we don't provide implementation for these abstract methods, we will have to declare class cat as abstract class. Next is we have class interface demo that has main method. The first statement is object creation. We are creating object of class cat, cat c equal to new cat. So reference variable c will be stored on stack and actual object is created on the heap. There are no instance variables inside class cat, hence there is no memory allocated for the instance variables. Now as soon as the object is created, an implicit call goes to the default constructor. So from here, control of the program will go to the default constructor of the subclass cat, and the code inside constructor will execute system.out.println I am a cat. This will be printed to the console. Control will return back and the next statement executed is c.sound. So control of execution will go to the definition of sound method belonging to class cat, and the code inside sound method will execute, and this statement cat says mew mew is printed to the console. Yo. Control is written back and the next statement executed is c.walk. The control of program will go to definition of walk method and the code inside walk method will execute cat walks on 4 legs. This will be printed to the console. So in this program we have seen how to define an interface. We have defined interface animal and we have defined 2 methods which are by default public and abstract. we haven't defined any variable. In the next program, we'll see how to define variable inside the interface. Then we have a subclass cat that has given implementation for these abstract methods. And because subclass cat has given implementation for all the abstract methods belonging to the interface animal, you can create object of cat and invoke the methods. Write a Java program to achieve multiple inheritance by implementing multiple interfaces. So in this program, we have a normal class, a regular class mammal. This is not an abstract class. This is a regular class, class mammal. It has two concrete methods, baby birth and nourishment. Then we have interface domestic animal. Interface domestic animal has boolean variable friendly and the value assigned to boolean variable friendly is true. So variables of data type boolean can have only two values, true or false. This is a keyword. You have to write all letters in small case. Interface variables are public, static and final. So this variable friendly has public access modifier. It can be accessed from anywhere outside the program. It is also a static variable. You don't need an object to invoke variable friendly, and it is also final variable. Means that you cannot change value assigned to it. So when compiler reads this line, it will be converted into public static final boolean friendly equal to true. Next is it has an abstract method, public abstract void stay. There is one more interface named animal. It has an abstract method void sound. Then we have a subclass cat extends mammal. So cat is extending a regular class mammal. At the same time, it implements two interfaces, domestic animal and animal. So here we are trying to achieve multiple inheritance by implementing multiple interfaces and extending the class at the same time. There is a default constructor. Subclass has to implement all the abstract methods inherited. Now there is one abstract method stay in domestic animal and one abstract method sound in animal. So both these abstract methods are inherited inside cat class. Here we are providing implementation for abstract method sound. While providing implementation, you should not use word abstract. Follow the signature public void sound and provide the code. Then we are providing implementation for abstract method stay that is inherited from interface domestic animal. Then we have class interface demo that is min method. The first statement is object creation, cat c equal to new cat. Now here memory allocation happens. Object is created inside the heap and the reference variable is created inside the stack. Because of the space constraint, I have not shown the diagram for this, but this is a regular thing. As soon as the object is created, an implicit call goes to the default constructor. So from here, control of the execution will go to the default constructor and the code inside default constructor will execute. I am cat is printed to the console. The next statement is system.out.println. We are printing our cat's friendly. This is a string. It will be printed as it is to the console. Here we are invoking variable friendly. Now variable friendly is a static variable. Now there are three ways for invoking static variable over here. You can say domestic animal dot friendly because variable friendly belongs to interface domestic animal, or you can say cat dot friendly because subclass cat inherits variable friendly, or you can even invoke static variable using an object. You can say c dot friendly. Here I have written cat dot friendly. So this will retrieve value true assigned to it. Now variable friendly is a static variable. It is not an instance variable. It is a static variable, and static variable reserves memory inside the memory area known as metaspace at the time of class loading. For more details on static variables, refer the video titled static keyword. So system.out.println prints the statement to the console, our cat's friendly true. Now the next statement is c.stay. Control of execution will go to the definition of stay method over here and the code inside will execute. Cat stays inside the home will be printed. Next statement is c.sound. Control of execution will go to the sound method and the code inside will execute. System.out.println cat says mew mew. This will be printed to the console. Now the next statement is c.nourishment. Now you can invoke nourishment method on cat object because cat extends mammal and it is inherited inside class cat. But we have not overridden Nourishment method. The implementation for the method is given in the superclass mammal. Control of execution will go to the definition and the code will execute. So system.out.println babies get nourishment from mother's milk. This will be printed to the console. So in this program we are learning that a subclass can extend a class and at the same time it can implement multiple interfaces. Now let us have a look on the new features added in the interface from JDK 8 onwards. Prior to JDK 8, interface used to have only abstract methods. Methods with implementation were not allowed. So what we have seen in these examples, we have seen only abstract methods inside the interface. From JDK 8 onwards, default implementation of methods using default keyword is allowed. So what does this mean? This means that you are allowed to write method with implementation in the interface by using default keyword in the definition of the method. So from JDK 8 onwards, you are allowed to write methods with implementation only by using default keyword in the definition. Now try to understand why this feature was added. Prior to JDK 8, interfaces used to have only abstract methods and method with implementation were not allowed. So let us take an example of interface animal. So interface animal has some abstract methods. And there are many animal classes, for example dog, cat, horse, snake, rabbit, lion, etc. These classes implement interface animal and the abstract methods declared inside interface animal. So these all classes are giving implementation for the abstract methods present inside the interface animal. To create object, all the animal classes has to implement all the abstract methods declared inside interface animal. Now what if there comes a need to declare some new method in interface animal? New method void it is declared in this interface. Now earlier, because only abstract methods were allowed, all these subclasses has to implement the newly added eat method in its implementation. So all these classes has to implement the newly added abstract method and change its code, compile the class again. So this was lot of work. If they don't implement the newly added abstract method, these classes get an error because abstract methods get inherited and it is mandatory to implement abstract method. So to solve this problem, JDK 8 came up with a solution where if you want to add a new method to the interface, don't declare it as abstract. Just write the code for the newly defined method using default keyword so that these classes won't be disturbed. So now when I want to add a new method eat, I will give implementation for this method using word default in its definition. Now the newly added eat method is not an abstract method and these subclasses doesn't have to write code for the method and these are not impacted. So because of this problem, Java came up with the solution that you can provide implementation for your method inside interface using default keyword. Java has also given the feature that you can define static method. So now this eat method can also be a static method and you can provide implementation for this. So let us understand this with the help of a program. Write a program that demonstrates default method and static method in interface JDK version 8 and above. So here we have interface animal. It has two methods, sound, and these are abstract methods. And it has a method with implementation void it. We have used default keyword in the definition. So this is the new feature. Using default keyword, you can define your method and write the code for it. You can also define static method inside the interface. So we have a static method display. Now there is a class cat that implements animal. There is a default constructor. Class cat has to provide implementation for abstract methods sound and walk. So we have provided implementation for sound and walk, and the default method eat and the static method display are inherited inside class cat. Then we have class interface demo that has main method. Here we are creating object of class cat. Cat c equal to new cat. So inside the memory object is created. So as soon as the object is created, control of execution will go to the definition and this statement I am cat will be printed to the console. So this is my first output. Then I have given a call to c.sound. Control of execution will go to the definition of sound method inside the class cat and the code inside will execute. Cat says mew mew will be printed to the console. Next is c.walk. Control of execution will go to the definition of walk method inside class cat, and the code inside will execute cat walks on 4 legs. Next is c.eat. Now the implementation for eat method is given inside the interface animal. So control of execution will go to the definition of eat method over here, and the code will execute, and this will be printed to the console. All animals eat. Here we have a call to static method. Static method do not need objects. You can directly call it using interface name because it belongs to interface animal. So control of execution will go to the definition of display method, and code inside display is executed. Animals are living beings. So in this program we have learned that you can write method with implementation inside the interface using default keyword, and this can happen from Java version 8 onwards. You can also write static method with implementation inside the interface, and when you are writing static method you should not use keyword default along with this. Now new features added in interface from JDK 9 onwards. Along with the default method and static method, you can also add private methods or private static methods. So let us see this with the help of a program. Write a program to demonstrate private method and static private method in interface. This is from JDK 9 onwards. So we have an interface animal. It has two abstract methods, sound and walk. It has a default method eat. It has a static method with implementation display, and it has private static method with implementation. Also it has private method with implementation. Now try to understand why are private methods and private static methods allowed in the interface. See, sometimes there is a scenario when we don't want any class to access the method directly. In that case, we can write private method, and a call to private method can be given inside non-private default method or static method inside the interface itself. So here what we have done is we have written a private method, and private method are not visible outside the interface. Private methods are not visible to the subclass. So this private demo method will be not visible to the subclass cat that is implementing animal. So how do we call this method? We can give a call to this method inside default method with the implementation. Here we are giving call to the private demo method. And then we also have private static method. Again, this is a private method. It is not visible to the subclass. So call to this private static method can be given inside static method with implementation inside the interface. So here we have given call to static private demo. You cannot call private non-static method inside the static method. It has to be invoked inside the default method only. So we have a subclass cat that implements animal. We have a default constructor. The abstract methods sound and walk are implemented. Then we have a class interface demo that has min method. So the first statement is object creation. As usual, the object is created on the heap and a reference variable is created on the stack. An implicit call goes to the default constructor of class cat from here, and the code inside default constructor is executed. I am a cat is printed to the console. Then we are giving a call to c.sound. Control of execution will go to the sound method, and code inside sound method will be executed. Cat says mew mew will be printed to the console. Then we are giving a call to c.walk. Control of execution will go to the definition of walk method, and the code inside will execute. Cat walks on 4 legs. This is printed. Next we are giving a call to c.eat. So from here control of execution will go to the definition of eat method inside the interface animal over here. The first statement executed is all animals eat. This is printed, and the next is a call to private demo method. So this is a method call. Control of execution will go to the definition of private demo over here, and the code inside will execute. You can declare private methods inside interface. This will be printed to the console. Then control returns back, and the next statement executed is animal.display. So from here control of execution will go to the static method display inside interface animal over here, and the code inside will execute. Animals are living beings. This is printed. This is printed to the console, and the next is call to the static private demo method. So from here control of execution will go to the definition of static private demo method, and the code inside will execute. Private methods are invisible outside the interface. This is printed and control will come back and your program terminates. So this is how we define private method and static private method inside the interface in the version JDK 9 and above. So sometimes there is a scenario when we don't want any class to access the method directly. In that case, we can write private method, and the call to private method can be given inside non-private default method. Or if it is a static private method, it can be invoked inside static method directly. We have seen such scenarios in encapsulation topic where we don't want other class to access variables directly. Hence we declare them private, and these private variables can be accessed using public methods. Same logic is applied over here. When the method is private, we can access private methods from some public method. So this is what we have done in this program.